the NBA, Kyrie Irving, Dwight Howard, or speaking on a call with 80 players, I believe it was said this weekend, to discuss how the plans in Orlando that are supposed to lay out on July 31st, the NBA is supposed to be back. Remember, there was a lot of momentum behind this. A lot of momentum. Adam Silver said, I'm not going to give you any answers because I have no idea what the future holds. Mark Cuban said, I'm not on the committee that's putting basketball back together, but from what I heard, it's going to be in Orlando because they're our biggest partners. We'll do this. LeBron James came out and said, I want to play. Chris Paul said, I want to play. Then, obviously, George Floyd's murder sparked a movement that, kind of ignited our entire country to realize that there's a lot that has to happen here for us to continue to grow and become a place with its ideals, which meant it's equal and opportunity for everybody. So now the conversation isn't just about a pandemic, COVID-19. It's also about what happens if there's some social justice movement that an NBA player would like to go to, would like to attend, would like to be a part of, and it just so happens to fall into the 35 to 40-day confinement in Orlando that will be happening for the 8 games of the rest of the regular season. That'll be added for the 13 from the West and the 9 from the East, and then a potential 82 days if you go to the NBA Finals in Orlando, how long you'll be confined to your room. What happens if something like that happens? And I understand why Kyrie Irving and Dwight Howard and I assume many others are wondering that, because I feel like whenever you represent a community, I got a chance to see this with a lot of my teammates. A lot of my teammates, the responsibility for you to put on for where you came from is a massive one, from your community, from your family, and everything like that. That's why when the kneeling protests happened and the conversation got directed in a different way than it should have, it just became about the military, disrespecting the military and disrespecting the flag. That's why the conversations in the locker room were so raw, because the players and teammates of mine, that's why Drew Brees, I've said this from the beginning, that's why so many people are disappointed with Drew Brees, because he was a part of those conversations. Whenever you're in those locker rooms and they're describing, and Charles Barkley said this, they're like, we don't live this life anymore because we are currently living in nice places and we made it and we worked our asses off to get here, but this is what's happening in these neighborhoods. This is what we went through as children. So they feel a very sense of pride that they are sticking up for their community, even in the conversations they were having in the locker room where they were educating people who maybe didn't know what it was like. So whenever you're a representative of a community that is currently in the middle of making a push for equal rights and stuff like that, you could see how being locked in a area, and now granted locked is you're in quarantine in Orlando basically, so you could see how some people would be like, hey, we can't do that. That can't be something we do. But then if you take a step back and you think about what time, it's June 15th right now. Protests still happening. Conversations still happening, more so than ever. I think a lot of people have potentially thought about setting aside their judgments. Maybe they've been tone deaf before. But by July 31st, do you think the people that don't want to hear the protests anymore are still going to hear anything about this? If you go to a town that doesn't want to hear this anymore, do you think they're going to be able to direct their way out of there? The entire country was talking about this. July 31st, the NBA will be everything on television. They're talking about having 6 games a day down there. Now, I am not obviously saying one way or the other, but I feel like the amount of awareness you could bring whenever you're the only show in town, 6 games a day, and you're going to have press conference and microphones and stuff like that, I feel like there's a lot of messages that can be spread. Now, granted, is that action? I think some people could view it as action, as using your platform for something better, but I don't know how this is going to play out. I just hope that there is a conversation like, hey, maybe, and I'm not saying they should do you do whatever the hell you want to do. Whatever you think is right, you got to do what you got to do. But I think maybe the conversation should be, you know what, we're going to have the entire globe watching us for, 30 days, probably 6 games a day. We have Mike. Maybe that is a time where we can maybe push this initiative even more. And I assume those conversations are happening behind the scenes. I would assume there's a lot of NBA. Austin Rivers came out and talked about it. I assume Patrick Beverley came out and said, hey, if LeBron wants to hoop, we're going to hoop. That's just what you guys need to understand. Patrick Beverley, classic pest for LeBron James as well. I mean, so there's a lot that's going on, but it does feel as if the NBA's momentum that we all thought was going to happen has been slowed up quite a bit for real reasons, and real conversations are going to have to happen. Adam Silver, though, seems to be a guy who can get those conversations done. If they're looking for replacement players, I would like to throw my name in there. I hit a couple step-back threes the other day from NBA three-point range. They were actually going in so easily and looked so effortless. A lot of people thought it was potentially a college three or a high school three. Yeah, right, pal. Okay? Yeah, right. When we built this studio, built this office, and who's going to have a basketball court? You know why? Because motion creates emotion. You got to be able to move. It makes you think and stuff like that. Anytime I start shooting hoops, I start getting some deep thoughts. I'm like, I would like a basketball court in here. Then when it came to paint the three-point line, the person came in, they were like, we get you high school and college three-point line, no problem. I'm like, excuse me. Is there any chance of me going back and playing high school basketball? No. Is there any chance of me going back to play college basketball? No. But you know what could happen? In this office right here, maybe I take some DMT or some mushrooms and somehow I figure out how to be the best shooter on earth. I could potentially make the NBA still.
Oh, yeah.
Give me a NBA three-point line, and that's what we got. And people are like, well, it's too easy. Well, we don't know. Will the replacement players be needed? Not sure. There's a lot of discussion that has to happen in the NBA before July 31st gets going, but that one is up in the air.